We're going to get right into it today because we want to make sure you all have time for your creativity to get sparked and revived. Revival is the theme for the month, and revival can mean returning to something that once lit you up. I love that we are connecting revival with very creative, self-expressive medium like zines. And for those of you who aren't familiar with zines, actually, who here has never heard of zines? I know there are some. I should say, who here has made zines before? Yeah, okay. They've been around for a long time. Since I was a teen in the 80s when I was making a zine. I thought that's when they started, but I found as teens do, think about themselves. They've actually been around since like the 30s, and this has been a medium that people use for self-expression. It's very DIY, it's very scrappy. It's something that can really spark creativity. And so I think that is, we're reviving, sort of the medium, but it's also about reviving that creative spirit within us with play. And that's what we're doing today. So the other thing I love about zines is no gatekeepers. There's no gatekeepers for sharing your creative expression. And that brings us to our presenter today, Christopher Furniss, who is going to be speaking with us about reclaiming the rules, play, power, and the crossroads of... Oh, wait, no, that's not you, is it? Well, fortunately, I happen to know that Christopher Furniss is a fantastic artist, illustrator, comics creator, and zine creator here in Seattle. Also a game designer and instructor as well. So they are going to be able to tell you a lot more about what they do. And let's give a huge welcome for Christopher. Thank you.
All right. Hello. Thank you for the intro. That was so nice. Wow, there's a lot of people here. Okay, cool. All right, so this is going to be pretty low effort because I think we're all kind of tired. I'm tired. I don't know if you're tired. I'm tired. All right, so first introductions, a little bit about me. My name is Christopher Furniss. My pronouns are they, them, or fey, fair. If you like neo-pronouns, try them out. They're a lot of fun to practice. My brand is Wasabi Sunshine. It doesn't mean anything. It came to me in a dream. And you can follow me on Instagram at Christopher Comics or wasabisunshine.com. So I'm a lot of different things, actually. I'm a creative consultant and a mentor. I usually work in the games industry as a UX UI designer, game design person, focusing on like social interactions and learning and fun. I do mentorship, you can check me out on the interwebs. Anyway, I've also been doing comics for a long time. I was part of the really early webcomics boom back in like the year 2000. I was on KeenSpot back in the day, hung out with the Penny Arcade guys. It was a lot of fun. Been doing print comics for a while too, for like my local college newspaper. I do one every month for Real Change, so every third Wednesday of the month, if you find a Real Change vendor, pick it up. It's Seattle's last independent newspaper, so that's a really good thing to support. I also do a series of lunch note comics for my kids that I've been doing since they were really young. So every day in the morning when I'm packing their lunch, I've got two kids, a 13-year-old and a 9-year-old now. And since my 13-year-old was a kindergartner, I've been doing this kind of like stream of consciousness story, self-insert fan fiction for a game called Pikmin that Nintendo does. And this is him with his fat stack of cards there. That's a lot of work. I make a lot of stuff. I do a journal comic every day too. It's like a 4-panel comic about my day. That's on Instagram. I basically need to keep moving because I'm like a shark. I'll die if I don't keep moving. In addition, I've worked on a lot of things. I've been in corporate life. I've worked at Microsoft and Amazon. I've worked at video games. I've done illustrations for books. I designed the little ad for Amazon that has the add to cart button in it that follows you around the internet everywhere. That was me. I'm sorry. It's still the same template after like 10 plus years, which is a pretty cool success. I designed this little, or helped design this little phone called Kin that lasted for a month, and then they took it off the market. Also, Kindle with special offers. If your Kindle has an ad on it and you swipe to unlock, I designed the swipe to unlock thing. It seems obvious, just to swipe to unlock, but somebody had to design that, and I did that. There we go. Anyway, I'm burnt out. Are you burnt out? Yeah. So I don't like to put a lot of effort into things, or I like to do like minimal amount of effort, right? Just the right amount of effort into things, you know? So I don't actually think you can recover from burnout. I have not been able to, personally. I think it's kind of an unpopular opinion. A lot of self-help people talk about like how you recover from burnout. I don't think it's possible. I don't think you can go on a vacation and recharge your battery or anything. I think you really just need to like find something else to do, you know? Like I think they call it burnout for a reason. You've burnt out, like to ashes. So that's okay, right? Because part of living life is experiencing a bunch of different rebirths and revivals, right? And meeting yourself every time you're reborn. It's totally okay. It's an opportunity to like take a good look at what makes you happy, where your values are, and how you can authentically, live in the world, right? And then you rebuild from there. Burnout is a really good opportunity, actually. But putting any effort into anything is pretty daunting. So, like I said, I'm having a hard time getting motivated to do things these days. The world is on fire. Everything is bad. I'll get started on something and immediately my negative self-talk starts to seep in. Like, what if no one reads this? What if I don't get any new Instagram followers? What if I can't get... The one thing that I do that's really hard is like I have an idea in my head, and then when I put my pen to paper, it's like a different idea. Right? Like I'd lose the plot between the translation, right? And it's like, well, what if I fail? Why don't I just lie down and take a nap? Naps are good. I like naps a lot. Sometimes a nap is nicer than doing things. And yeah, the world's on fire, right? So like I talk to a lot of people in my community. I live in West Seattle, just over there. You can like see my house from here, which is nice. And people are always like, oh, I'm so exhausted. And I'm like, why are you exhausted? They're like, the news these days and stuff. And I'm like, that's the point. They're trying to exhaust you, right? There's nothing that we can do here that's going to affect stuff over there. So it's like, what you can do, right, is find other things to do, because doing something is better than doing nothing, right? We want to feel our impact when things are hard, right? When things are scary, we want to know that our action is actually like doing something, and that's really hard to do when you're constantly being bombarded by a psyop campaign, essentially, to exhaust you. So doing a little bit of something also is, it helps your community, right? A little bit of community action is really good. And it's something that you can actually control. So, might I propose a solution? Making zines. Seems really, really small, but focusing on local communities by engaging in small actions and mutual aid are really what we need right now. We need a revival of community. See, I tied it to the theme. And that starts with the revival of yourself. And when you're creating something independently, like a zine, you control the means of distribution, right? There are no gatekeepers, like Lee said. You can literally publish whatever you want, and it doesn't take a lot of effort. It doesn't have to be perfect, right? So it's worth remembering that a lot of activism, especially queer activism, which is my purview, is about showing up and doing a little something. Zine making is a perfect activity for shaking off the cobwebs, doing a little something that benefits from being a little unprofessional and a little sloppy. That's the key, right? Being sloppy is okay. We're all sloppy. We're humans, right? Like, low effort is actually a core part of the whole vibe of zines, right? It makes them accessible. So it shows that you're a human. Because then when another human picks it up and they read it, they connect to you on a human level, right? So that's where the magic of zines happens. One burned out human communicating with another. And sharing our points of view and our wisdom in our communities is beneficial to everybody, right? There's praxis there. So You might not think that sharing a hastily scribbled booklet about something important to you would be impactful, but you'd be surprised. I've found that oftentimes when people pick up my zines and they see it, or they look at my comics, like my journal comics that I do is just pen to paper, right? I don't sketch anything. I've practiced, obviously, for like years and years to get it to where I like it or whatever, but like I don't erase things. I scribble out text. I keep it like really, really sloppy on purpose. And when somebody picks that up and looks at it, they go, oh, I don't have to be perfect. I can do this too, right? And it's the sharing part of zines that's important, right? Having your voice be part of the greater chorus of voices. We all have something to contribute. No matter if you think that you don't, you probably have something very interesting and unique, a skill, an idea, something that you have that is uniquely your own that is always worth sharing. It's always universally good to share that stuff. When you put your heart out there and you show it to the world, you remind others that they too have a heart. And when we realize that we are also lucky to be alive and on this planet together, we realize how important it is to know each other's hearts. We only have one planet, we only have one life, and we are so, so lucky to be here together on this planet together.
Yeah.
Thanks. So, if you're unfamiliar, so there are only a couple people unfamiliar. I'm just going to run through this. A zine's a little DIY self-published booklet, intentionally handmade, imperfect, often ephemeral, right, and easily duplicated for distribution. So zines originated in the 1930s, as Lee said. Actually, like, apparently the first Superman comic was a zine before it was actually published, which makes sense because it was published by, like Jewish people commenting on Nazis and stuff like that. Like they would ever get that published in a mainstream publication. Queer writing and sci-fi writing is packed with like lots of socio-political commentary, and it made it difficult to get editors to publish stuff. There's a whole Star Trek DS9 episode about this, actually. Zines then also came up in popularity during the punk and DIY movements of the 70s and 80s, and as a means of decentralizing and deinstitutionalizing information. So it's different from creating a flyer or a pamphlet. You can think of it as something that serves a similar purpose. Zines are very special. They are radical and they are magical. So my very first zine was made at the very start of the pandemic. We were all making sourdough starters. We were all figuring out what to do with our hands, and I had a book about making comics, and there was instructions on how to make a little booklet out of one sheet of paper. And I sat down with my kids, because they weren't in school, and we were all going nuts, and we needed projects, and we all made some. And I wrote down, my first idea was like a short list of things that make me happy and keep me going, if you can read upside down. So it's like, you can write about anything, right? Topics are super varied. So you could write about, it's nice to make yourself a good lunch when you work from home, right? Or going on a walk helps my mental health. Or journaling is fun and good. Or I discovered some forageable plant in my neighborhood, right? So after I drew that, I made a bunch of copies. This is another place where the magic happens with zines, right? And then I started distributing them around. I walked around my neighborhood, a lot of little free libraries around. I started putting them in there. I'd leave them around places for people to discover. And then I kept going and making more and more. I found the Zine of the Month Club through a place called Paper Press Punch, which is a local printer that does risograph printing. And they do these really gorgeous risograph prints. It's a club where 20 or 30 people sign up, and then you get 20 or 30 zines back. It was really, really cool. It was a little spark of magic during a dark time, and it completely rewired my brain, which was really good. So the real magic of zines is the independent distribution part, right? These little one-pagers I'm going to teach you to make today are super easy to copy. You just unfold them, and then you slap them on a copy machine, or you print them out on your computer, right? You fold and cut it, and you're ready to distribute. No need for staplers or glue or anything other than a sheet of paper. You actually don't even really need scissors. You could rip them, and I can show you how to do that too. So where would you distribute them, right? Like little free libraries, leaving it on a bus seat, put your social media information on a zine, you give them to people as a contact card, right? So you're going to be making zines today, but you're not necessarily going to be able to make copies of them today. Bring them to the next Creative Mornings talk, right, that you go to, and give them to people as a little contact card, as a business card. You can do zines about events, like a PTA meeting or a community event or something, a church group, whatever you want, right? Okay, so that was a brief primer on zines. So let's get to folding. All right, so this is the interactive portion of the workshop. So you have a zine about zines in front of you. It's very meta, and it'll teach you how to make zines and fold zines, right? So this is the instructions on the zine. Basically, what you're doing is you're making 8 pages. You're folding it first, either hot dog or hamburger style, whichever one you want, whatever your preference. You're gonna fold it in half. And when it's hamburger style, you're gonna wanna cut it right at the fold, right? And essentially, you're making a little hole in the middle of it. I'm gonna try to do this with my microphone. See, it looks like a little mouth, little puppet guy. There's always a handful of people that cut it from the side or something like that. So yeah, you want to cut it down the middle. The fold is right here. The end is right here. Down the middle, so there's a flap in the middle. And then you keep folding and folding and folding. Until it's a little book. Yeah. No, don't worry about screwing it up because that's not what we're here to do. Yeah, we're here to give ourselves grace. Yeah. Right. So that's how you fold a zine. I'm gonna move this slide. If you still need to look at this, it's literally on the zine. So I'm gonna change to the next slide here. Okay. All right. I'm actually going to move it over to this one. Okay. So now that you've folded that zine, you can make your own zine. What I like to do, if you're planning a zine, I like to fold the little booklet first, have a blank booklet, and then start drawing it out. But if you want to do an outline, it's a really good technique to sort of get it down on paper first, get your idea down on paper. And like I said, you don't have to make it perfect either, right? So if you are designing your own zine, we have got lots of magazines and stuff around. If collage speaks to you, you could cut things out of the magazines, paste it on your blank sheet of paper. Hastily scribbled stick figures work great. And I was going to prompt to turn to your neighbor and talk about what kind of zine you're going to make, but it sounds like everybody's off to the races already, so that's pretty good. Yeah? Cool. Well, if you have ideas, yeah, turn to your neighbor and talk to your neighbor about one idea you'd write about. Going from 4 to 5, yeah.
I'm a little
So, from 4 to 5, fold it over, hot dog style, and then push. So the middle is like this, right? Push it together like you're making some origami something. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, push that and then fold that flat. Yep, and then fold it over. Perfect. There you go. You actually can't get double. No, it'll fall. Well, you could try it. Try it. It'll fall apart.
You're like, I love you. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, you can try it.
can drive the car. It's
We learn from failure. How we doing over here? Yeah? Good. Doing a little something with your hands. You don't have to be.
Let's see. This shape was just, when you let it burn in the forest, you know what happens?
Life happens. Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
You look for burn areas.
When life gives you lemons, let it burn.
All right, everybody seems to be doing really good. Very proud of you all. You all look very engaged and spiritually fulfilled today. So thank you. Thank you very much for joining me. I think we have a little bit of time for Q&A if anybody wanted to ask any questions, or you can, talk to me afterwards. You can contact me on Instagram. I watch it like a hawk. I'll probably immediately respond to you. I'm unemployed, so I'm very bored. And you can also email me at xdeferfurniss@gmail.com if you'd like. I'd love to see your zines. Like, send me a picture of your zine, please. I love it when people send me stuff. So, thanks.
Do we have any questions? I'm going to bring a microphone so everybody can hear
You
your
need to be mic'd up.
question.
Thank you. Hi, hello. Christopher, thank you for coming. You said you, like a shark, you have to keep moving. What strategies do you use to stay productive and stay, because you're extremely productive, and I'm always envious of people that can keep that kind of routine going.
Well, this is a perfect opportunity to sell my creative coaching package. I have a lot of different things. I make a lot of lists. Lists are very helpful. Actually, the one weird trick zine that I have is my productivity process. I don't like digital to-do lists or anything. I use actual Post-it notes, and I use a receipt spike, like at restaurants and stuff. And you spike the Post-it note when you're done. It's very satisfying. But I have a lot of habits that I try to build. I do a lot of habit stacking, right? And just try to keep busy. I also have kids, so that keeps you motivated to do a lot of things. Because you need to, because it would be illegal to let them starve. So, yeah. Thanks. Anybody else?
Do you recommend taking a drawing class for perspective and all that?
Oh, yeah, sure, of course. Fundamentals of drawing is very important. Also, taking a class keeps you engaged and connects you to your community. I think people who are trying to get into art and drawing and stuff like that find little ways to gatekeep themselves often too. Like, I need to take a class, or I need to get the right pen, or whatever. But oftentimes you'll find that just starting is enough. But yeah, I think intro to art classes are really good. I really like books by an author named Linda Berry. She does a book called Making Comics and a bunch of other books. And she has a similar ethos that I do, where it's not sloppy or unprofessional, but just really handmade. And she has a lot of really good tips too for just getting started with shape language and trying to sort of break out of these gates that we put on ourselves. Because as humans, we're all given gifts when we're born, right? We're all given the gift to laugh, to dance, to draw, and to do a bunch of different things, right? And we lose the ability to draw as we get older because we are afraid of failure, and we have people that are putting us into boxes as we get older and older. So reclaiming that part of your childhood is really important, and finding ways to draw without ego, I think, is really powerful. Yeah.
Okay, last question.
Thinking about your comment regarding burnout.
Yeah.
Recently, I've been finding myself going back to watch a favorite director of mine, Mel Brooks, and I love his satirical look at life.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering, how do you feel about putting that little like satirical thing? Because I looked at your comics and I'm like, oh, okay, so you understand a little bit of dark humor.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
how just a little bit.
Yeah.
But how would you help those of us who maybe cannot like let go of that pain to
Yeah.
just give in to that satire and be able to laugh at the mistake?
Yeah, totally. That's great. Mel Brooks is a really good beacon for that. Mel Brooks, David Lynch, other creators like that really had it figured out. And the key really is to lead with kindness, right? Mel Brooks is really successful because his movies aren't mean. They're very kind, right? And just knowing that change is literally the only constant in the universe is really important. Like, we're all going to experience change. Every single person in this room is going to die one day. And so, like, yeah, that's a reality, right? And it's like I tell my kids, like my youngest was asking me about Mount Rainier being a volcano, and I'm like, yeah, it's 200 years late and blowing up. And he's like, we'll be safe though, right? And I'm like, I don't know. Probably not, but that's okay, because that makes the time that we have here that much more valuable, right? So, like, be present. The world is dark. Like, it's been dark forever. Like, life is really hard and scary, but leading with kindness and empathy, I think, is really important.
I love how that ended. Lead with
Great.
empathy and kindness. Let's give a big hand to Christopher. Thank you so much.